Hi, folks. Thanks so much for being here with us for Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. Over the next hour, we'll be talking about your breaking news feeds and also local topics of interest. And right away, we want to dive into some local impacts we're seeing from a larger national story that is really rocking the jiu-jitsu world right now. And, you know, we've talked about Checkmat Charlotte before in other segments, but we've got some changes to mention with this local gym. This week, actually within the last few days, we've seen an announcement online talking about a change in name to Real American Grappling. And we actually have a statement to share from the owner there, basically talking about the decision here. And so first of all, this is the Checkmat affiliation overall, the national group, basically talking about a suspension of one of their co-founders and board members pending some allegations of sexual misconduct. So this is kind of the larger issue that is now trickling down to what we see here with this local gym. So here's the Real American Grappling post, essentially talking here. 2 days ago, Coach Michael Allen says here, I made the difficult decision to formally remove myself and my team from Checkmat. They'll no longer compete under the Checkmat banner. They will no longer represent the organization publicly. And he goes on to say that this is not a decision made lightly. He says that his decision to step away is really a response to what he calls serious allegations that have been made by victims towards members and founders within the organization. He says, as a leader, a father, and a husband, I have to make choices that allow me to look my family in the eye and stand firmly in my values. And so the controversy here we're seeing, there have been no criminal charges filed, but this is making its way through the civil court system, where a victim in this case has filed a lawsuit against one of the co-founders of Checkmat, accusing of negligence, failure to supervise, mishandling of reports of abuse, and there were some allegations of unwanted sexual advances that were made when this person was a minor. With that, we want to talk about the local impacts, and we have some folks joining us here today on Live Impact. We have our own Amro Wairat, who is actually, we've mentioned here on our assignment desk, but also a member of this gym. We've got Drew Williams and we've got Emily Hansen here. Everybody goes to this gym. Everyone's familiar with the leadership of Michael Allen and just the culture and the values of this gym. So I guess my big question to start things off is, what is your response, and feel free, anyone can jump in first, doesn't matter who, to Coach Allen making this decision?
I mean, of course we stand by him fully. You know, he very publicly had no issue with being like he couldn't stay, you know, with the affiliation of Checkmat because of everything that was going on. He's put in a lot of time and effort creating a really safe environment for all of his students. So it was such a breeze for us to, you know, follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, and what's your take, Emily? I mean, we were talking before we came on the air here, and it sounds like you and Drew have both talked about just how Coach Allen has kind of made his values known, and that's something that means a lot to everybody that goes to this gym.
Yeah, I'll be referring to him as coach throughout this. Our coach has really been a great leader and a very trustworthy person, so I trust any decision he makes. He really didn't hesitate in his decision to leave Checkmat, and that's because he stands with the victims, and it's all about our culture.
Yeah, Amro, you brought this to our attention as a topic that we should be covering here on the news. What made you feel like this was something that we should be addressing and reporting on here?
We brought Coach on once before, and a previous student of his as well, and just to think that, you know, you have a man that accomplishes a lot in the area, and not just in the area, but in the sport as a whole, and is well respected amongst many people for the way he handles situations, the way he handles his business, and the way he trains his students. So I thought that this was important for our community to know about, especially with the students that train there and everybody who's been there for a very long time, that have been there supporting him. You know, they come to this gym for him. And I came about a year ago from another gym in the Myrtle Beach area, and I looked around and I didn't find anybody that suited me as much as Coach Michael Allen did.
How important is that to find a community, if you will, where you believe in the leadership of the gym and you believe in the culture of the gym. How important is that as your personal development as a person?
It's huge. I actually didn't start at Checkmat or Real American Grappling. I started somewhere in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and as soon as I moved, I looked around in the Charlotte area for a new gym, and I checked out countless gyms. None of them connected with me. And so I actually took a 5-year break from jiu-jitsu, and at some point I ended up looking again. I found Checkmat and Michael Allen and everybody there, and it was a game changer. I was able to get back into jiu-jitsu and feel safe doing it and completely empowered by everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I myself not part of, the culture of jiu-jitsu, so I don't know how it feels, but is there a feeling of being a woman in jiu-jitsu that is also maybe, a situation where you kind of have to be extra careful, or, you feel like there might be extra obstacles or bias against you? I'm just curious, how it feels.
I feel like with any sport, they're typically male dominated. So to be a woman and then go into a sport that's like on the side of combat, of course, it can be intimidating. And, Coach Allen has created such an amazing atmosphere there at the gym. Me being on the newer side, I've only been going for about 5 months. I was worried about like fitting in and, feeling welcome and not being judged. And from the moment that I stepped foot on the mat, like all of that went out the window. If it wasn't for that environment that he continues to nourish there, I don't think I would have stayed. So it's super important.
It's interesting to have this conversation, as we kind of pull on this thread a bit, because I remember the last time we had him, and Amro, you were here for this interview, where he came in, he kind of left us with this teaser of, going forward this year, I want to make it all about making sure that everybody feels welcome at the gym. And he specifically mentioned, he wanted, all genders, LGBTQ, people from different walks of life, people who were like older and younger, and like he wanted to basically like hit every single community as like, we want you to know that you feel welcome here to do that. Is that a rare thing in combat sports, do you think, or is this something where it's just starting to emerge, maybe this type of sentiment?
I feel like it can be rare in society in general, but definitely, again, in combat sports where everybody, I guess, kind of has certain roles that they feel like you have to fall into. So for him to kind of go above and beyond and, like you were saying, make sure that everybody in all walks of life feels comfortable and is amazing. And you can see him on the daily making the effort to connect with each and every one of his students, so.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you because Michael Allen, I think he's, apart from just saying what he wants done at the gym, he actually puts an effort into doing it. Because I think it's really easy to say what you want to have at your gym, and I think it's really, I was at a previous gym, and I think it's really easy to say what you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish, but he actually pushes forward to doing it. So when you go to the gym, you see a diverse group of people. You see a large team and a diverse group of people, and you get to, you get to meet all sorts of different people. I don't remember the last time I go and you just see the same people all the time. You have people that are more consistent than others, yes, but I think that he's done very well keeping it welcome for everyone.
Yeah. We were discussing this too before we came on air, the fact that dropping an affiliation like this is not a light decision. I mean, he mentioned that in his statement. I suspect that this, could have an impact, either if it's on name recognition or maybe there are other elements. And it sounds like he's spent a lot of his, life and time kind of pouring into this prior affiliation now that he's now dropped.
I think that now with the community that he has and the people that he's got on his side, the students and even the other gyms that show him a lot of respect, I think that he is fully capable of doing it. I know that it's heartbreaking, especially for someone to be with a team and then having to leave said team, or making the choice to leave said team. But I do think that he's dedicated enough and motivated enough to do it on his own.
Yeah. What would you like folks to know going forward? I know that this particular national headline is not affiliated with this local gym whatsoever, but it is an unfortunate cloud over the name that was the prior name of this gym. But what do you want folks to know going forward about Real American Grappling now?
Oh my gosh, we have such a beautiful, honestly, family that we've created, and we welcome all walks of life. Like we were talking about, everybody comes to train for different reasons. Everybody goes through things in life, and it's a pretty therapeutic place. Or some people come in to learn self-defense. Whatever the reason may be, we all have been there, and we all agree that we're going to be there for each other, and it just helps us kind of get through life every day.
I think that Drew made a good point earlier, saying that there are factors that kind of go into looking for a gym. And I was just wondering, what factors do, especially in a male-dominated sport, what factors should women in general look for when they go to a gym? You know?
A women's team,
A women's team.
an
That's a
all
big
women's class only, women's class only, and we have 2 of those a week with our wonderful women's black belt, Jillian Schnetzler. She's amazing. I've told her a million times, she's the epitome of a leader and a friend. So that is a huge deal whenever you can come into a gym and you can see a female black belt and somebody that has a great name for themselves, somebody trustworthy and has all the accolades too.
Yeah, just kind of, piggybacking off of what Emily was saying, when I was looking for a gym, I was interested in the sport, but, didn't know much about it. So for me, my biggest, takeaway was going to be like how I felt once I was in the gym. And my first class actually ended up being a Saturday's Queen class that was taught by Jill. And she actually paired me up with Emily. And Emily was so welcoming and so understanding and just, just real, like a real human being. There was no sense of competitiveness, there was no like, well, I know more than you. The environment all around just was curated for people to learn, feel safe, and have fun. So
I know that when I first got to the gym, there was still like in the making of making this Queen's class. So beforehand, when there wasn't a Queen's class, there was still a good amount of women in the gym. And it was a mixed, there were majority mixed classes. When you guys see that, like, do you believe in like boundaries and like, staying in your lane, essentially? I know a lot of people go to a gym and they know that it's a high touch sport, there's a lot of contact. So how do you kind of go about to creating those boundaries and like, making sure you're talking to the right people?
I think first and foremost, having Coach Michael, he always, especially for the women, preaches like you can tell anybody no, especially with the Queen's class and the amount of women that we have there on the daily increasing. There's enough women to where the women can roll with the women and the men can roll with the men. He makes it very clear that the only time like a woman will roll with a man is if he's said for it to happen and it's been supervised. And he just preaches like boundaries. We have like separate bathroom facilities, one for men and one for children and women. He just sets it up to where everybody feels safe. Doesn't matter the gender, your sexuality, whatever it is. So
I know it's kind of a different type of discussion to really kind of have around the sport, but I'm glad we're having it. And is there anything else you would like to leave our viewers with before we wrap things up? Either it doesn't have to specifically be about this kind of topic that we've introduced, but if it's adjacent to your experience at the gym or anything like that, yeah, feel free to share.
Everybody that I've met from our gym has honestly made me feel whole. I have some of the greatest memories with you guys. I remember her first day, and I'm so glad that she's still here. And I encourage everybody, it doesn't matter how scared you are, to come in and try class, whether it's, like I said, for self-defense or for fun, for exercise. will benefit you, mind and body. I can't say enough good things about jiu-jitsu and the family that we have at Real American Grappling, and we're always, always, always welcoming more people.
I definitely agree, and I 100% think that Coach Michael Allen is a great person, great coach, and a great owner to have at your gym. Somebody who can make you feel comfortable. And you know, when I came and my previous coach had told me about Coach Michael Allen, Michael Allen actually reached out to me. You know, he texted me and was like, you know, you're welcome to the gym anytime. I kind of already made my decision by then, you know. So honestly, I definitely agree with you guys that he's created such a great environment, especially for someone like me who hasn't been there for too long. I think he's a great person.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us here. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more Live Impact News. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us here on Live Impact News. We're going to turn now to another local story here we've been following for a few days at this point. You'll remember last Friday, we had this shooting that happened outside of a Bank of America branch in North Charlotte. Unfortunately, an employee was shot and killed outside of that bank branch. There is a suspect who's charged with her murder. But tonight, we saw folks from the community and even family and friends gathering at that branch tonight to honor her memory. This is Ina Lang, and we actually just spoke with her family members who were at this vigil. We want to share some of that, sit down with them now.
It's a little long, but she deserves it. Yeah. I met Ina in 2021 after Calibridge had temporarily closed. We worked together at Waterside and Denver here in Belmont, and when Calibridge reopened, we moved there together. But honestly, that doesn't matter much. What matters is who she was as a person. From the very beginning, Ina was the kind of person, the kind of human you hoped to find when you needed help. She was kind, patient, and genuinely cared about people. She didn't just do her job, she took care of her clients. That care radiated into everything she did every single day. Ina had sass, real sass, but it was the best kind. The kind that made you laugh. The kind you couldn't be mad at because it always came with love. And she was snarky in a way that made you feel seen and not small. Every day she greeted me with a hug. And if you knew Ina, you know the hug I'm talking about. the one where she rubbed and scratched your back just a little. It was the most comforting, motherly hug. Even if you weren't a hugger, she made sure you became one. We spent years together, through COVID, through center changes, manager changes, awful days, good days, everything. When you spend that much time with someone, you learn who they are. Ina knew everything I was going through in my life, and no matter what, she always reminded me that I would make it through. She always told me how proud of me she was, and when someone wronged me, Ina was always ready to stand up for me. She loved loudly and consistently, and I can honestly say there was never a day I questioned her love or friendship. Any disagreements we ever had were solved with snarky comments, laughter, and hugs, because that's how deep her love was. She used to tell me and many others I was like a daughter to her, and that meant more to me than she'll probably ever know. Even after I left Calaveras, I stayed in touch, and when I eventually came back, Ina was the first person to open the door for me and hug me. You remember moments like that, and you remember the people who show up for you, and Ina always showed up. When I first heard about what happened, Ina was the first person I messaged. And when I realized all I could think about was getting to Ina. Because she would never leave anyone alone, and I didn't want her to be alone. We lost an incredible coworker, a dear friend, and a huge piece of our family. But Micah and her children lost something far greater, a wife, a mother, a pillar of love. To her family, I am so deeply sorry for your loss. Please know how truly loved Ina was by all of us. And I hope when you look around, you see that love reflected back to you. And you have an army of people standing behind you right now, ready to support you in any way that we can.
Nobody can top that.
With that being said, I'm not a public speaker. I'm not.
Okay.
Even if I was, now wouldn't be a good time. If anybody else would like to say anything,
I would love to.
I would love for you to come up and share your story, share whatever you'd like. Deal with this tragedy and however you need to deal with it, because we all have to deal with it in our own personal way. We all have to say goodbye. And the new normal has to begin in our life. So with that being said, whoever would like to come up and speak, please form a line and don't push.
I first met Ina when she first come to work here, and walked in and to cash a check and said, "Morning, Ina," and she said, "Thank you, Miss Christenberry, for knowing my name and pronouncing it right." But she always helped me whenever I had some trouble about something, or needed a printout, or couldn't understand why I got charged this or that on other things. She would always help me out. And then if we couldn't figure it out, we'd get somebody on the phone, and she'd get to turn on the loudspeaker, and we'd both talk to them and get it ironed out. She was just a wonderful person, and I'm going to miss her.
So I don't think I can top Felicia. She kind of took us over the edge. Sorry. Ina was actually the very first Bank of America associate I ever met back in 2020. Trying to keep it together. And like Felicia said, she was a mom to everybody. She was one of the first people that I told I was pregnant with my first daughter. And the way she treated me, she always took care of me, gave us the hugs with the back scratchies, always brought me leftovers from dinner with her and Mike because she didn't want me eating fast food and wanted me to be healthy. And always baked me a cake on my birthday. And just the way Ina loved so unconditionally everybody, even when people were mean to her and she wanted to sass them right back, she would laugh it off and use her favorite words that I can't say. And she would turn it around, and these people that would come in with so much hatred would leave with so much love just from one 10-minute conversation with her. And when Felicia called me and gave me the news, I felt like I lost my own mom or my own sister because she was such a big part of our family. And there'll always be a hole in our hearts where this family is supposed to have her. And like Mike said, we'll move on to the new normal, but there's no way that anybody's ever going to forget Ina.
I've been doing Nina for a long time. The bank, it was on Barhaven Boulevard. My mother and I was just moved in her house at 75, and Mama didn't know where to go to the bank. And she said, let's go to Bank of America up the road because it was closer to our home. So we went there, and she's been my banker every year. And she helped me with the loss of my mom and my daddy. And she also helped me with my finances. And me and her would park side by side when the bank hadn't been open, we're fixed to go open. And she said, Debbie, I like your Mustang. And look, she said, I like your Mustang shirt. So I'm wearing this Mustang shirt remembering her today. But she was sweet and kind. And she always talked about her husband. And she always talked about her kids. And she always said, I got a fine husband and fine kids. And she always told me about her trips that y'all would go to and everything. And she was a wonderful, grateful person. And she's up in heaven with my mama. And she's a guardian angel. And she's watching over everybody up in heaven. And she's controlling and telling everybody God. And she also said this to me. She said, Debbie, she always said, Debbie, will you have a nice day? And may God bless you. I said, okay. And she said, Debbie, she said, don't take life for granted. She said, enjoy it day by day because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. And that stuck in my heart, and it still does, And I said, well, thank you. And she was a great woman, and she took care of my husband. When my husband come in, he couldn't really walk. And she would always ask him, how you doing? And my husband would always kid her, and she'd joke around with her. So she was like a mother and daughter to me. That's all I'm going to say. And I don't thank all the bank managers and all the bank employees, because I've been to every bank, Bank of America, everywhere. I've been to Denver, Belmont, I met everywhere. I met all the bank managers and tell them, please give them great support during this difficult time because they need our prayers and love and the families too. And God bless y'all.
I was just telling Mike I get nervous when it's time for public speaking. I've never been much of a public speaker either. And Ina knew that, and when we used to have our business briefs in the morning, she would be the person to volunteer and, save my behind because I would sit here and stutter and get nervous and just pull things out of the blue just to say. But just like everybody's saying, like Ina was like a mother to everybody here. She was. Sorry. She was like a mother to me when there was a hard time, and there was a lot of them. She was the person to give advice and a shoulder to cry on and a hug like a back rub like that, and then crack some jokes. She treated my daughter like her own. I remember when I was saving money and she was like, you're crazy for spending all that money trying to take her to Disney. She surprised her with a card and a gift card to treat her to Disney and was like, I love y'all and I want y'all to have a good time. her coming into the branch and, like she said, coming in with those fancy plates and those home cooked meals and making them with love and feeding us. Ina just cared about everybody. Truthfully, she did. She loved everybody, and it showed every single day. Seeing her notes that Mike used to write, and I used to be like, oh, it's so sweet. It's an embodiment of love with one another. And I'm sorry that what happened, but like they're saying, you do have a family for life. And I know she's looking down on you guys forever. Yeah, okay.
Hey, Miss Jada, I actually am very, very shy with public speaking, but I feel like it would be a disservice if I don't speak. I worked with Ina here for a year. Actually, honestly, I just left about 6 months ago. And what I'll say I remember is her honesty. I'd be in the back arguing with my son. She'd come in, hand on her hip, give me that phone. Why are you talking to your mama like that? And it was what I needed. I'm not going to share what I was going through, but she knew what I was going through. And something as simple as coming in while I'm at the break table, rubbing my shoulder, was more than I needed. And when I say I'm going to miss that blunt honesty, it was the highlight of my experience here. I appreciate everything she's taught me. I appreciate her having my back. I appreciate her taking the time to teach me, because when I came here, it was a lot that I needed to know and a lot that I needed to know about the regulars. And she took the time to teach me. I just want to say I appreciate her coming in, getting on me about fast food, showing me those meals, talking about what her and Mike were going to cook tonight, and those quick minute runs to Walmart. I will say Mike, your wife, was an amazing woman. And she will truly, truly be missed by all of us.
I'm not good with words. I'm not going to be able to do her justice. I met Ina in 2020 when I moved down here right as COVID hit. And I was charged with getting everybody into their safe boxes and all the different branches all across the market. And we had no staff. And it was always a struggle finding somebody to drive all over God's green earth with me. And the one person who would always show up, because she just could not let anyone be in need, was Ina. She would drop whatever she was doing. She would give up her Saturdays. She would come and be there when you needed her. She was always the first one to comfort you, always the first one to put you in your place, and always the first one to make you feel better when you were having a bad day. I miss her sass. I miss her smile. And I miss the love and the warmth and the absolute ray of sunshine that she was. And the world's worse off for not having her.
I think the first thing I want to say is I'd like everyone to just kind of look around and how many people are here tonight. I mean, I think that's just a testament to her, and how much everyone here loved her, and how much everyone here cared about her. And how there's all of us have a huge hole in our heart right now that I don't know if it'll ever be filled. Because like everybody else, this is my first financial center after training. And who was the first one to greet me? Ina. And how sweet she was, and how kind she was. I was always amazed how she knew every client's name when they walked through the door. And until I looked at her like, how do you do that? I mean, how's that possible? But it was her. It was her spirit. It's how she cared about you. She cared about you. And when she spoke to you and talked to you, and she genuinely wanted to know about you personally, about me personally, about my family, about my kids. And that's just who she was.
So once again, that is from a vigil this evening for Ina Lang, the Bank of America employee who was shot and killed late last week outside of a bank branch here in Charlotte. She was outside basically taking her break. We're going to have more of this story for you tonight at 11 on our normal newscast here on WCNC+. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll be back in 2 with more of your headlines here on Live Impact. All right, folks, back here in the Live Impact News studio, we're going to turn now to an announcement from today. President Trump signing an executive order directing the Department of Defense to work directly with coal-fired power plants on new long-term power purchasing agreements. As we know that the president has particularly been pushing coal as energy during this administration. Let's listen into the announcement.
We love clean, beautiful coal, don't we, Doug? Huh? I'm thrilled to welcome to the White House the men and women who light our cities. And, you know, you do things that people don't even understand. There's so much. You do so much. You heat our homes, fuel our factories, and turn natural resources into American riches and dreams. Our amazing coal miners. Thank you very much, fellas. That's great. And I know you well, I know you well. I think I got about 97% of your vote. And you wouldn't want to do anything else. You wouldn't switch with a guy who had a beautiful penthouse apartment on Fifth Avenue. You wouldn't switch with that was me. I had a nice, easy life. And now I decided to do this. But you know what? We just hit the highest price in the history of the stock market, $50,000. And a lot of people are getting rich with your 401ks and everything else. So our country is back. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So it's pretty cool, right? So I want to just tell you, I really appreciate you being here. You're special people. You got mistreated very badly for a long period of time. But you've never had a better friend in the Oval Office than me. And I'm proud to officially name the undisputed, when did this come out, Mr. Speaker? The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal. We have to proceed. Always, I don't use the word coal. It needs a PR job because it had a bad reputation for a while. So we're not allowed to say the word coal anymore. It has to be preceded by beautiful, clean coal, okay? We're cleaning it up. Very good. And we're delighted to be joined by Secretary Doug Burgum, who's done a fantastic job from the great coal mining state of North Dakota. And thanks as well to Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, a fantastic guy who's doing a great job. Thank you, Mike. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. He's our secret weapon. He's getting those approvals done in record-setting time. True. Great Senators John Barrasso and Jim Justice, thank you very much for being here. Hi, Jim. Been a long time, Jim. You're looking good. Shelley Moore Capito, thank you, Shelley. Thank you very much, Johnny. Marsha Blackburn, Bill Haggerty, Ted Budd, John Husted, Bernie Marino, and David McCormick, all here, great senators, every one of them, great senators, representatives in the House, Jim Baird, Troy Balderson, Andy Barr, Dave Taylor, Warren Davidson, Troy Downing, Morgan Griffith, Brett Guthrie, Harriet Hageman, Mike Kelly, Dan Muser, Scott Perry, Carol Miller, Dana Harshberger, and Riley Moore. Boy, that's a good group of people. We have some others in here, too, and I'm not going to say it's just too many. Don't get angry at me. I'll never get their vote again. It's very dangerous. I also want to thank the president of the Washington Coal Club, Michael Day, CEO of the National Mining Association, Richard Nolan, along with many of the greatest business leaders in this powerful industry and a great industry it is. But of course, the most important people here today are those who get their hands a little bit dirty to keep America running at full speed, our frontline coal workers, and I'm pleased to report that in the first year of my presidency, real wages for the typical miner increased by more than $2,200. I'd say that's pretty good, right? And I'll give you the bad news. It's the first time that that's happened in more than 27 years. All right? Those other presidents didn't take good care of you. They didn't take good care of you at all. They didn't realize what they had. The last time many of us were together, I signed a historic executive order to ensure that America's beautiful clean coal plants would keep running when we need it most, and that's 24 hours a day in rain, sleet, and snow. You know, coal can operate when other substances can't. The Biden administration, he had no clue what he was doing. Shut down dozens of coal plants. They shut them down. Literally, it seemed like one a week, one a day. They were shutting them down left and right as fast as you could. They were paying people to shut down a coal plant. And if we had stayed on the ruinous path, we would have seen mass suffering and rolling blackouts all over the country. We would have had blackouts right now all over the country. We would have had a country that, worse than blackouts, every other thing would have been wrong with it, too, with all of the horrible things that took place at our border. And right now our border is 100% secure. First time in the history of our country, actually. And you see it all the time. So instead, when large parts of our country were hit with winter storms, it was coal that kept the power on, and it was coal that never was bothered by cold weather, warm weather. It's never bothered by anything, just keeps on chugging, right? During this vicious storm, and they had some really bad ones, coal generation surged 31%, while solar and wind totally collapsed. I'm not a big fan of those crazy windmills that are all made in China. You know, they're made in China, but not used by China. Let's look for a couple of wind farms in China, see if you can find one. They sell us those things for fortunes, but we don't do them anymore. Have we done any this year, Doug? We're not going to do any, hopefully, for 4 years in this country. They're losers. They lose. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money with energy. And they lose a lot of money. And by the way, they're all over Europe, and you know, I was recently there, and it's not recognizable what they've done to their beautiful fields and those beautiful, beautiful scenic areas, and they put those wind turbines all over the place, and they're chugging, 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 not doing a damn thing, except every time it goes around, it loses a fortune. It's horrible. They've lost their way. Not actually not recognizable. And then I wonder why they don't like me over there. But you know who likes me over there? The people like me over there, I can tell you, because they know I'm right. More than 200 million Americans across 35 states were impacted by the storm, and the only reason most were able to take a hot shower was thanks to the power provided by the most reliable, dependable, and really dependable form of energy that we have, and that's clean, beautiful coal. Biden and the radical left wanted to abolish coal. They did everything they could, everything possible. But on day one of this administration, I ended the war on coal. We terminated the Green New Scam, and we withdrew from the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord. That was another beauty we had. We paid $1 trillion. Nobody else had to pay 10 cents. Already I've saved 74 coal power plants from crushing restrictions and closures that would have been forced to shut down in the very immediate future. And today I'm proud to announce that the Tennessee Valley Authority is taking action to save 2 major coal plants in Tennessee. Tennessee Valley Authority. The plants are the Cumberland Fossil Plant and the Cumberland City. It's in Cumberland City. It's a big, beautiful thing that they just wanted to shut down. You know, the Tennessee Valley Authority has gone in a very stupid, very bad direction. The head of it, it's considered sort of semi-private. It's supposed to be semi-public, but it's semi-private. It's the highest paid government-type official in history. I think they pay them $10 million a year. They're paying him $10 million. I think the Speaker of the House wants to resign and head the Tennessee Valley Authority. And he could do a much better job, I can tell you that. Is that right, Doug? They pay him $10 million a year. Can you believe it? Well, Trump is on the scene now. We're going to make his life miserable. $10 million. I wonder what he got before he got that job. Probably making $150,000, right? And the Kingston fossil plant in Harriman, Tennessee, so they're going to remain open and they're going to be vibrant, they're going to be improved, built up, and continue to do all the things that they do. These 2 plants were slated for termination, but we're going to save over 450 jobs by keeping them going and going strong. In addition, I'm directing the Department of Energy to issue funds to coal plants in West Virginia, Ohio, North Carolina, and Kentucky to keep them online and keep those plants open. Right, Jim? And very importantly, we're also bringing our coal mines roaring back to life. Under 4 years of the Biden administration, Sleepy Joe, not a single permit was approved for a new coal mining project. Think of it. 4 years, not one permit. They were all being disapproved, actually. So not a single permit was approved. I didn't know that. But in 1 year of Trump, we've already approved over 70 permits for very big, very powerful mines that are going to be with us for many, many years to come. And we did that over the last 30 days. We did more than half of them because we have the system going now. It's a very reliable source, great source. If you look at some of the most prosperous places in the world, they run on coal. Since I took office, coal production is up by nearly 4 million tons a month after falling for decades. I mean, literally decades. Coal power generation is up by nearly 15% in my first year, and that number is going to be about 25 or 30% this coming year, at least. These pro-American energy policies are bringing energy prices way down. You see what's happening even with gasoline. Gasoline, I was in Iowa last week, and it was $1.85 a gallon. And many of them are $1.99 and $1.91 I saw. We have them under $2 a gallon now. A little while ago, just a year and a half ago, they were at $3.50, $4, $4.50. In California, $7 because of the crazy taxes. Coal is one of the lowest price energy sources, and it's probably considered by almost everybody to be the most reliable. It requires no subsidies because you make money with coal. More coal means lower cost and more money in the pocket of the American citizens and in the pocket, frankly, of the United States of America. That's not bad. Every once in a while, we have to take care of our country, right? With us today is Kayla Blackford, who drives a haul truck at Bear Run Mine in Duggar, Indiana. Great state. We love Indiana. I only like states that are one so big, you know. I want to pick no. No, I like them all. Where she has worked for 5 years, and she's joined by her wonderful husband, Eric, who also works at the mine, and their really incredible son, Isaac. And Kayla, if you could come forward, I'd like to just have you say a few words, please.
And folks, we'll take a quick break here on Live Impact. We'll be back in 2 minutes with more of this announcement. And folks, we're going to return to this announcement by President Trump today, directing Department of Defense to work on an executive order here, working on long-term power purchasing agreements, rather, with coal-fired power plants. Let's listen in.
Honored to be here today, representing Peabody and coal miners across this country. My husband and I both work at Bear Run Mine in southern Indiana. I drive a haul truck and I train others on this large piece of equipment. A haul truck is used to move rock or coal and is capable of carrying loads of nearly 250 tons. The tires are 12 feet tall. When I stand next to one, I barely reach the middle of the tire. It's the best job I've ever had, and not just because of the cool mom points I get for driving big equipment. My job supports my family, it supports our community, and it keeps the lights on and electricity affordable, not just in Indiana, but across the country. As demand increases and our lives become increasingly electrified, America needs to generate more electricity, not less. For years, coal miners have felt the weight of policies that made our future uncertain. Over the past year, that weight has begun to lift. My son, Isaac, who's here today, has friends whose parents also work at Bear Run. And when you grow up seeing huge mining equipment from the road, like Isaac and his friends do, you dream about the day when you get to run that equipment. When a mine closes, families don't just lose their jobs. They're often forced to leave their communities, their schools, and their support systems behind. The common sense policies to keep coal plants running implemented by this administration mean that my husband and I can keep working, stay where we are, and continue raising our son in our community that we call home. And the impact is even greater than that because you, Mr. President, have single-handedly kept utility prices affordable, the lights on, and our jobs alive. We are real people under these hard hats. On behalf of America's coal miners, thank you, Mr. President, for recognizing the value of coal and the value of the people who power this industry every day.
Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you. Thank you very much for all of you. Thank you. Sorry, I'll take that.
Good job. She did a good job, right? Look at the boy. He's so proud of Mom, huh? Did a good job? Couldn't do better, right? Anyway, thank you, Kevin.
All right, and there you have it, folks. Our time here on Live Impact is about to come to a close here. We will see you for the news at 11. Keep it here on WCNC Plus and have a great night.